Welcome, shiverlings, to my domain. I am, of course, Pagan, your mistress of the macabre, here to guide you through the shadows of the unknown. Tonight, we delve into the depths of terror with tales sent in by you, my faithful viewers. This footage was taken directly from my Twitch stream, so be warned that it might not be as clean as you might hope it to be. That said, if you have an experience or a story that you would like to share, please feel free to submit it to me. It's super easy. All you have to do is send me an email. Instructions for that are in the description below. Well then, my darlings, without further ado, let's get into the letters. The Black Cat by Big Schlong. We were in Longar province, in the mountains of Pull Alam. Not sure on spelling. Well, that's fine, because I'm not sure on the pronunciation. It was 2013. We were embedded with an ANBN, an Afghan National Army Battalion. Thank you for letting me know. I don't know military terms. Doing operations to clear small town insurgents. We parked for the night in an old, unfinished, but what looked to be some housing area. I had the night shift watch on the M2 and had an ANPAS 13 thermal sight. It was about 0300. I saw a heat signature of a person at the end of the road, which was only 150 metres. I kept my eye on this dude. He was walking straight towards our small AA. He started moving to my left. He was about 80 metres away from us. He turned into a small alley, but I was elevated high enough in the truck that I could still see him. He stopped for what seemed like an hour, but was only 5 minutes, looking around and moving his hands in an odd manner. He started walking out of the alley and got down on all fours and moved about 20 metres that way before he turned into an enormous cat. At this time, he was about 50 metres or less from where we were bedded down. I started throwing expanded 50 caliber rounds and yelling at my dudes to wake up. My buddy Cooter woke up and saw this thing coming towards them, grabbed his rifle and started yelling. It came as close as 15 feet from the guys sleeping on the ground. Holy crap! Alright, hold on. So you just see this enormous shadow way off in the distance and you're watching it. It gets down on all fours, turns into a cat, and starts getting close to where, like, your unit is sleeping. Now, I'm a little bit confused because I don't understand military terminology, but you said you started throwing expanded 50 cal rounds. I assume that means you're firing shots. So I think 50 caliber is like ammunition, right? So you're firing shots off at this thing? And, like, your people are still sleeping? They didn't wake up? They hear this? Oh, expended! Oh, I'm dumb. I'm so sorry, Big Schlong. I read that as expanded, not expended. Okay, so you're throwing the shell casings at it and yelling for people to wake up. And then your friend Cooter wakes up and he sees it as well? I've got to stop questioning. Let's just read it. After Cooter started yelling, this thing ran off and hid in one of the buildings that was in the area. The very next night, Cooter was on guard, and around the same time, it happened again, exactly the way I explained it. Except for this time, it got closer, and everyone else got a good look at it. It was black and quite large. It was just a huge black cat. It was like the size of a tiger, maybe a little smaller. We could hear it breathing, super weird. I thought for sure I was going crazy. I was trying to explain it away to myself, but I couldn't really see that happen. But after my buddy saw the same thing, I knew what I saw. Okay, I just like absolutely everything about this. So you just watched a man turn into a cat and come sniffing around where you guys are all bedded down for the night, and this was in Afghanistan, apparently. Oh my gosh. Listen, I don't know much about myths and legends from that region of the world, but Humans that turn into animals are a very common thing, and aside from us shape-shifting druids, they tend to not be too friendly. Oh my heckin' gosh, listen, I've heard so many tales of people seeing things when they're out there, like in the mountains, especially out in the Middle East. I have heard so many tales from personal friends. That's horrifying. Thank you so much for sharing. Really, truly, thank you. Ghost Tours from Scotty. Thank you, Scotty, for sending this in. Now, this letter is unique in the fact that for the first time, someone has sent us pictures of what they're talking about, which I am really, really excited about. We have pictures to go along with our story. So I have those queued up, and I will show those as we go along with Scotty's story. For a couple of these recollections, photos do not exist. That's alright, Scotty. I appreciate the fact that you sent us photos at all. I'm really excited about them. Growing up, my family was always superstitious. Things that go bump in the night, ghosts of family members, reincarnation, and all of that. I never knew what to believe, but I do remember a pair of red eyes looking at me every night. The way the double-wide trailer I grew up in was laid out, my room was across the hall from one of the bathrooms, and the doors of my room and the bathroom were directly across from each other. My mother never wanted the bathroom door closed, and my bed was located right across from the door. Every night I'd turn, and there was a shadow, indiscernible in form, peering over the edge of the bathtub. A pair of red eyes, watching me, glaring. It never moved. I could never tell its intentions, but it bothered me for years until I convinced my mother to set a new bed up on the other end of the bedroom. Years later, as a junior in high school, I already knew I wanted to join the military. Thank you for your service, Scotty. My family has had so many veterans of countless years that it only felt right. Originally, I had intended to be the family's first Marine, since we already had Army, Navy and Air Force covered. But being young, dumb and full of, hey, Scotty, no. Anyway, I joined the Army under what was called split option. That meant I went to basic training before my senior year of high school, and the advanced training after I graduated. My family has always told me they believed I was the reincarnation of my great-grandfather, and the night after swearing into service, I swear on my life I saw him, the Colonel, at the foot of my bed. He was in his World War II dress uniform, smiled, and faded away. Listen, your family believing that you're the reincarnation of your great-grandfather is a little strange to me. It's a little strange. Listen, people believe in reincarnation. That's your whole thing. I mean, my own faith allows for a return visitor too. We get that. But that has to be so much pressure on you, just as a person, in general. Like, having to live up to your family's expectations of your great-grandfather, if they believe you're, like, his reincarnation. That's awful. But the fact that after you swore in, he, like, appeared at the foot of your bed and smiled and faded away, that has got to be so comforting, so reassuring. I love that for you. That's amazing. Those are some of my favourite encounters that people tell me about. I mean, I love the spooky as much as the next person. I mean, hello, I am the horrormancer after all. But it's always those, like, really touching, like, my mother came back and she, like, pet my head or she gave me a kiss goodnight or something like that. It's always those ones that just, they warm my heart to make me go, oh, I love those. The following images are from a couple of different ghost tours, where we went with a group to a cemetery and a saloon. The saloon was known for a famous outlaw being shot and meeting his end, and the cemetery is where he and the others were buried. My only notes: there is no dust in the air in any of these pictures. The first picture, people say it's just dust. Alright, so here is the first picture. Here's the first picture, and oh my gosh, Oh my gosh, it does look dusty, but it also, I mean, I think in a lot of things they call these ghost orbs, right? And people like to say like, oh, ghost orbs is just it's just moths, it's just dust, it's just particles, the lens is dirty, whatever it is. There's a lot in this photo. There's a lot of that in this photo. So that is the first photo of the cemetery. Holy crap. Okay, so that is the first photo. And it says the second photo was taken the same night to show that there is no dust. Okay. So here's the second photo. It looks to be a different like angle, a different area of the cemetery. And yeah, this lens looks clean. Now, I don't know if you cleaned the lens in between, if you guys like could see that dust floating around in the air at the time. I don't know. I don't know, but there's definitely a huge difference between like look at all the things floating to now there's nothing there. I don't know, it's pretty spooky. The entire cemetery also has legends of disturbed spirits because an entire section of unmarked graves had been unearthed during construction of a large freeway interchange. Oh, I don't like that. I have had way too many experiences with cemeteries and unearthed graves and that sort of thing. Don't like it. Okay, and so this is the last photo of the cemetery. The last picture. Please carefully note the mist just right of center. Oh, I see that. Do I see that? What is that? What is that? Is that coming out of that grave in the center there? Listen, I could say that it's a cloud, like it's just fog, but just right over that one grave. I don't know how I feel about that. Alright, let's see, the saloon. I don't recall the name of the saloon, but the stairs were a newer addition because the original location is now the basement of another building. Alright, we've got a photo here, and that's kind of creepy. I don't like it. I already don't like it. Listen, it's a creepy basement. I don't like creepy basements. I'm not a fan. Looking carefully at the stairs, one may find something interesting to the right of the line of bricks on the wall, and there's another photo. Oh no. Do you see it? Do you guys see the face on the wall, right? Right? You clearly see the face. Oh. My last tale comes from my days as a truck driver. Oh God. I think we had a story about a truck driver last time. That was seeing like that big black dog following him around the country. Along a route in Texas one night, I saw the flashing lights of a police car in my mirror. Not the shine of headlights beneath them, but I didn't think much of it. I pulled to the side of the road, not sure what had caused the officer to pull me over. The lights went off, which I found strange, but I sat there, waiting and waiting. My co-driver came out of the sleeper, asking why I was sitting on the side of the road, and I told him that we had been pulled over. After a while, we both got suspicious, grabbed the tyre thumper and tyre iron, our flashlights, and got out of the truck. We're both veterans and had come up with a plan to work our way down the sides of the truck to the rear. When we got there, there was no cop car. The trailer was secure with the lock that was put on there from when we picked up the trailer. We didn't think much of it, aside from my co-driver thinking I might have been tired from driving. A couple hours later, the sun started coming up and we came across a small diner. We decided to stop for breakfast and coffee. I noticed that there was a picture of a police officer behind the counter, and something in my gut just nagged me to ask about him. Come to find out, the officer had been involved in a high-speed chase back in the 80s, and had ended in him under a semi-trailer. Without even asking about it, the waitress put our coffees down and continued. Some truckers come in here complaining about being pulled over and the cop driving off before sunrise. We think it's him looking out for them. Thanks for doing all that you do, Pay. Hashtag #GetLoveNerd. Scotty, I like the idea that he's out there pulling over truckers to, like, look out for them. What I wonder, Scotty, is, like, were you actually really tired? Had you been, like, on the road for a long time? Were you maybe dangerous to drive? Was there a lot of fog? Was it raining? Was the road out? Like, if he's out here trying to, like, pull people over to, like, help the truckers, was there some kind of condition that it might have been unsafe for you had you continued driving instead of being pulled over? That's what I greatly want to know. I need answers. Coffee shop chaos from Bananarama. Hey there, I'm Bananarama, a 23-year-old barista working at a cozy little coffee shop near my college campus. I've been here for a while now, and I've come to love the hustle and bustle of coffee shop life. On a typical day, I arrive early to set up the shop, brew fresh coffee, and prepare the pastries. As the customers start to trickle in, I greet them with a smile and take their orders. I enjoy chatting with them, hearing about their day, and recommending different coffee blends based on their preferences. Bananarama, I love the fact that you're, like, setting up the story, you know, like, setting up what it's like in your coffee shop, what you do. I love this little intro. The only thing you're missing is reminding us that there's, like, that pervasive smell of coffee and pastries that lingers in your nose. I used to work at a Dunkin' Donuts myself, so I know what it's like. You just constantly smell it all the time. Even when you go home, that smell of coffee and pastries and stuff, it stays in your nose and you can't get rid of it. During my shift, I also handle cash transactions, make sure the shop is clean and organised, and restock supplies as needed. Okay, yeah, typical coffee shop. You typically have to do all of the jobs, right? You don't just make coffee, you don't just run the cash register, like, you have to know how to do everything, and everything is, like, always on you. It's tough work, it really is. And so the fact that you're writing an email to me, a complete stranger, and you're still so upbeat about it, kudos to you. Despite the occasional odd and eerie experience, I wouldn't trade this job for anything. There's something magical about being surrounded by the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and making people's day brighter with each cup I serve. You're just an absolute doll, aren't you? You're so sweet. You're so sweet. I love your optimism. One of the strangest experiences I've had was when I was closing up the shop one evening. It was late, and I was the only one left in the cafe. As I was wiping down the tables, I heard a faint whispering coming from the corner of the room. Oh no, we're back on the whispering. I don't like the whispering. No. At first I thought it was just my imagination playing tricks on me, but the whispering grew louder and more distinct. It sounded like multiple voices murmuring unintelligible words. I felt a chill run down my spine, and I could feel my heart racing. See, that is when you nope the fuck out of there. That's when you go, nope, that whole chill running down your spine, that is your ancestors. That is your ancestors warning you of danger. Get the fuck out of there. I tried to brush it off and continue with my closing duties. See, that's where you fucked up. No, you get out. Get out. You hear weird whispering, you feel those hairs on the back of your neck stand up, you just leave. Just leave. You just know. You're just done. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Obviously. I quickly finished up and locked up the shop, eager to get out of there. I mean, at least you got out of there pretty quickly, so good job you. Lock up, get out. I mean, I would, probably not go back if I were you, but, whatever. Got to pay them bills. The next day, I asked my co-workers if they had ever experienced anything strange in the shop, but they all shook their heads. It left me puzzled and a little spooked, wondering what could have caused those eerie whispers. While some of the odd experiences have occurred during closing time, when the shop is quieter and darker, others have occurred during busy hours when the shop is full of customers. It seems like the strange occurrences can happen at any time. One particularly strange experience happened one afternoon when I was in the back stockroom organising the inventory. The stockroom is a small, cramped space with shelves stacked high with supplies, and it's usually pretty quiet back there. As I was reaching for a box on one of the higher shelves, I felt a sudden cold breeze brush past me, even though there were no windows open and the air conditioning wasn't on. I shrugged it off, thinking it was just a draft, but then I heard a soft, whispering voice coming from the corner of the room. I froze, listening intently. The voice was too faint to make out any words. It sounded like a woman's voice, gentle and soothing, but there was something eerie about it. I tried to ignore it, but the whispering continued, growing slightly louder and more insistent. Feeling unnerved, I quickly finished organising the inventory and hurried out of the stockroom. I didn't mention it to anyone at the time, afraid that they would think I was imagining things, but the experience stuck with me, leaving me wondering about the mysterious voice in the stockroom. None of my co-workers have ever mentioned hearing the whispering voice. I've asked them about it, but they all seem puzzled and haven't experienced anything similar. It's strange, because the voice was clear enough to me to hear, but no one else seems to have heard it. It adds to the mystery of the whole thing, and makes me wonder if it's just my imagination, or if there's something more to it. Anyways, I hope you don't think I'm making this all up and that you believe me. Thanks for letting me share. Bananarama. I do believe you. I don't think you're making it up at all. That said, when it comes to hearing like whispering voices and stuff like that, especially if it's at like multiple times of the day, I would wonder, you mentioned that you're in the stockroom and you're doing inventory, and it was during the daytime, so it's probably pretty busy and hustling and bustling, which is what I think you mentioned. So I wonder if maybe you're hearing this whispering sound at periods where you're maybe more stressed, and because of that, I wonder if maybe it's less a supernatural thing that you're hearing, and maybe if you're having some auditory hallucinations, which does happen to people, especially when they're stressed out. So in your case, maybe just pop round a doctor, especially if you're like saying this to your co-workers and none of your co-workers have heard anything. Most places, if there is like a haunting or something weird going on, it's not just one person that experiences it. But either way, I don't think you're making it up. I don't think you're crazy. I am just searching for a logical explanation, because that's really weird. I do just want to preface with this one. I did do a little bit of editing on it, just because it was a little difficult to read, but I tried my best to keep it intact and make it make sense. Family Warmth by Dark Lord of Demons. Well, this happened many years back, but I was sitting in the living room just playing my PS2, minding my own, and for some weird reason I felt a warm spot on my arm. Like, the warm spot was warmer than the room itself. I even tried rubbing it to make it go away, but it didn't. What's funny is when I told my mom about it. She told me how one time, while at work, she would smell a perfume that my great-grandmother used to wear. So we kind of put two and two together, that my great-grandmother had come down to visit us. Not really spooky, I know, but definitely a little heartwarming. I like that. Like I said, the tales in which you're like visited by a loved one, I love those. I love those so much. They warm my little heart. And so what I am getting from this story is like you're just chilling out in the living room, you're playing PlayStation, and you feel this warm spot on your arm, almost like someone has come along and like put their hand gently on your arm in like a I'm here, I love you, I miss you kind of way. I love those, and I think that is so sweet. So lovely, so sweet. Thank you so, so much for sharing. I really, really, truly appreciate you sending that in. Not so scientific. Sent in by Paul. Hey there, I'm Paul. Hi, Paul. Thank you for your letter. I appreciate it. When I was 19, I got a job as a research assistant through my university. I was studying biology, and there was an opening in one of the labs that matched my interests. I applied and went through the interview process and luckily got the position. Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations. Congratulations. That's actually really cool. As a research assistant, my main job was to help the senior researchers with their projects. I would set up experiments, collect data, and analyse results. Sometimes I would also help with lab maintenance and making sure everything was running smoothly. It was a great learning experience and really solidified my passion for science. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. And also, I appreciate you letting us know, like, what you were in charge of, what kinds of things you did, stuff like that. It helps paint a really good picture because for someone like me, I have no idea. I have no idea what being a research assistant, like, actually involves. So, thank you. It was late at night in the lab, and I was the only one there. I'd been working on setting up an experiment that involved some complex genetic analysis. The lab was quiet, with just the hum of the equipment in the background. I remember feeling a bit on edge, being alone in such a big, empty space, but I was focused on my work and didn't think much of it at the time. Oh no. Oh no, here we go. As I was working, I started to feel like I was being watched. It was an eerie feeling, like there was someone else in the room with me, even though I knew I was alone. I tried to shake it off and focus on my experiment, but the feeling persisted. Nope, what do we say? What do we say? If you feel like you're being watched, get the fuck out. I feel like that needs to be rule number 1. We're going to have Horrormancer's rules of survival. Rule number 1, if you feel like you're being watched, get the fuck out of there. If you feel like you're being watched, you probably are. Then things started to get really strange. I heard a faint whispering sound. Oh my gosh, again with the whispers? Again with the whispers? Like someone was speaking softly right behind me. I turned around quickly, but there was no one there. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up on end. There we go. Rule number 2. Rule number 2. Hairs on the back of your neck stand up on end. Get the fuck out. That is your ancestors telling you danger is lurking around the corner. It's time to go. I tried to brush it off as my imagination, but then things started moving on their own. What? Equipment that I had set down on the lab bench started sliding around, as if being pushed by an invisible hand. I was frozen in fear, not knowing what to do. The whispering grew louder, and I could almost make out words, but it was like they were speaking a language I didn't understand. I wanted to run, but I felt like I was rooted to the spot. I closed my eyes, hoping it was all just a nightmare. But when I opened them again, the lab was filled with a strange greenish light. It flickered and danced around the room, casting strange shadows on the wall. I finally mustered the courage to grab my phone and call security. As soon as I did, the whispering stopped and the light vanished. When security arrived, they found me shaking and pale, trying to explain what had happened. They searched the lab, but there was no sign of anyone else being there. To this day, I can't explain what happened that night. It was the creepiest and most surreal experience of my life, and it's left me with a lingering sense of unease whenever I think about it. So you're in the lab. Like, somehow the fact that it's a lab, like a research facility lab, ups the spookiness factor for me, right? Like, this is a lab. This is a place of scientific exploration. This is a place where we are seeking the answers to everything. Science, rationality, there's always a logical explanation. And then here you are, you're hearing this weird whispering, you're seeing things move on their own. You close your eyes trying to like stop it from happening. And when you open your eyes, the whispering is just louder and there's this weird light inside the lab. That would freak me the hell out. I don't blame you for feeling like you were rooted to the spot, just absolutely paralyzed in fear. That's horrifying.